Welcome, friends, to Niky Monik channel. Today, we bring you a very special guest, Sixto Paz Wells, one of the most recognized UFO researchers and contacts in the world. Sixto Paz Wells is recognized as one of the great pioneers in revealing the reality of extraterrestrial life. For more than 50 years, he has shared his experiences of direct contact with beings from beyond Earth. According to him, there are not only one or two alien races, but more than 60 civilizations that have approached humanity with diverse intentions. In the testimony, Sixto describes encounters with different types of beings, some with Mongolian-like features, others resembling blue avians, feline forms, bird-like entities, and even aquatic beings. The detailed accounts are accompanied by precise measurements, observations, and physical descriptions of the ships and their occupants, gathered through decades of research and contact. This conversation is part of a historical journey into one of the most remarkable testimonies of our time. Whether you believe it or not, the story of Sixto Paz invites us to reflect on our place in the universe and the possibility that we are not alone. The Niky Monik channel doesn't endorse, validate, or contradict the statements of its guests. This is a space of free expression and documentation. Each viewer is free to form their own opinion and conclusion.
Before we begin, from the ship, we need to step outside this planet for a moment, because I love my planet Earth, but right now it feels not right. It feels like madness. Well, guess who's here today? The godfather of this channel. And he's going to tell about this journey in Colombia, what he saw, what he did.
Thank you so much, Niky, for the invitation. Kans, honestly, it was a wonderful experience. I spent a whole month in Colombia. The first week in Barranquilla, the second in Cali, the third in Bogotá, and then the fourth in Medellin. It almost felt a political campaign. I was on many media outlets, I gave countless interviews, we held conferences, we gave workshops, and the support from the people was just extraordinary. The organizers also worked very hard. Juan Carlos in Cali, Saul Orozco in Barranquilla, Carlos Rios in Bogotá, and finally Edison Flores and his wife Tati in Medellin. They really did an amazing job. The events were beautiful, and then outings we had were unforgettable.
Very nice. I can imagine that in every city you visited, they had to serve our extraterrestrial food from my country, because each region in Colombia has its own favorite dish. I don't even dare ask which one was the best, because people would get jealous. But I am sure you tried a little bit. Go everything. Tell us.
Well, I was served arepas of every kind, but the ones I enjoyed the most, definitely, the Medellin Antioqueñas.
Of course. Las arepas antioqueñas are truly delicious. You just made me laugh.
But beyond that, I have had to be in Colombia at a very special time, because UFO sightings have been increasing all over the country. Spheres, ships, people aren't just looking for photos or videos anymore. They want real answers. They want to understand the why and the what for.
Exactly. Sixto people today no longer want to see just little lights in the sky. You yourself saw spacecraft 50 years ago. Why would we settle now in this time of chaos and artificial intelligence for fake ships projected on a screen? Tell us, what did you actually find in Colombia regarding these so-called the UFO soccer ball that people are reporting?
All these caneless, what we could call spheres, extraterrestrial drones, or probes, show that Colombia is being constantly observed by our elder brothers. Something extraordinarily positive is about to happen in the country. That's why the extraterrestrial presence has become so close, so visible. And I believe in very short time, we will see a complete turnaround changes of 180 degrees for the better.
Wow, what a revelation. That's the kind of hope people need. Because we're all tired of hearing only bad news. Disasters, wars, even warnings about meteorites that might strike us. And since you are the right person to ask, I want to bring up something being discussed everywhere. This called Atlas 3I. Is it really an steroid? Or could it be something else?
Well, this supposed comet, or steroid, could actually be one of the many ships arriving on Earth. Avi Loeb, an astronomer from Harvard, said from the very beginning that its behavior was not like a comet or asteroid at all. It wasn't affected by the gravity of the Sun or the planets. It moved independently, traveling at 222,000 kilometers per hour, about 60 kilometers per second. Its orbit and trajectory showed it was something guided, something piloted. Even though Loeb requested that the James Webb Telescope and other observatories study it more carefully, at first it was denied, supposedly because there were other priorities. But when speculation began that it might truly be an extraterrestrial craft, suddenly they claimed the James Webb and other telescopes had looked at it, and conclusion, it was just a strange comet. Yet, they couldn't explain why it had its own light, or why it was releasing so much CO2 as if it were carrying life inside.
That's fascinating. Sixto is telling us that the massive amount of CO2 being emitted could suggest living beings are inside this object. That's incredible. Could it really be transporting life forms? And yesterday, new hearings were held in the United States Senate Intelligence Subcommittee. Could you tell us more about what came out there?
Yes. For the volume of CO2 this body is producing, it strongly suggests that many living beings could be inside. So, no, this is not just a comet or meteorite. Once again, governments hide information. They deny, really, even though they know it's different. And with this case, just as before, they will insist it's not an interstellar ship. But look, this is already the third such object. The first was Oumuamua, the second was Boris, and now this one. Yes. Yesterday, high-level representatives, including military officers and very serious officials, testified the evidence has been destroyed and covered up. They confirmed that we are not alone, that non-human presence are already visiting Earth. Now, whether or not this specific object is an interstellar craft, it's important to remember that, in 2023, Sean Kirkpatrick, the Pentagon's liaison with NASA, publicly stated that NASA was aware of cylindrical objects over 100 kilometers long orbiting Earth. They've even been photographed and filmed from the International Space Station. So, why should we be worried about an object 19 or 20 kilometers long when there are already others over 100 kilometers in orbit? In fact, on September 1st, 2020, during the Plan D dash, a massive disc-shaped object was detected over central Mexico. It measured 300 kilometers in diameters, like a giant mechanical gear with teeth around its edge. And months earlier, a crop circle in southern England had displayed that same pattern, almost as if warning us of the coming of this enormous craft.
Sixto, these spacecraft have been reported for millions of years. They even appear in cave painting from thence of thousands of years ago. Ancient myths, legends speak of them, gods, messengers, or angels who promise to return one day. Do you think that moment has finally arrived? I remember when I was a child, watching the movie E.T., just that face with the big eyes fascinated everyone. Then came close encounters of the third kind, with that spaceship communicating through sound. But Sixto, aren't we still living in a kind of movie today? People don't recognize it yet. They are here. We are part of them.
Exactly, Niky. In fact, the U.S. Congress has already acknowledged that UFOs exist, that they are not from Earth, that they don't come with hostile intentions, and that their technology is far beyond ours. So why hasn't the U.S. government officially recognized it? Because accepting that a we are not alone would force them to change everything: geopolitics, religion, and dower structures. You can imagine how corporations, banks, and international organizations would resist such a radical shift.
And while people are still to understand all this, we now face another great mystery: artificial intelligence. Many think it's something brand new, but you know the subject well. Tell us, what's really behind it?
Well, Niky, let me explain. More than 38 extraterrestrial spacecraft have crashed on Earth because we shot them down, because other ships, these protecting our planet, have intervened. Remember, not all who come have good intentions. From those crashes, advanced technology has been recovered. That's what call reverse engineering, trying to adapt future technology to our present reality. And part of that technology is what we now call artificial intelligence, the ability to stimulate and process information at extraordinary levels. As far back as 1986, during one of our contact experiences, extraterrestrials told us that humanity itself lives in a large-scale simulation. They called it the cosmic plan. They said Earth exists in a paradoxical, alternate timeline outside of universal real time. In that sense, our own reality is already a kind of artificial intelligence.
Sixto Paz Wells. Many people in Latin America and around the world know who Sixto Paz Wells is. But for those who are just beginning to explore the topic of extraterrestrial life in contact, could you please give us a brief summary of who are Sixto Paz Wells and why you are considered one of the most important contacts in the world? Why you speak with such authority on the subject of extraterrestrial life?
Well, Niky, first of all, my father was already studying UFOs as a hobby before I was born. He was an astronomer and scientific advisor to the Peruvian Air Force. In our family, we were raised to think critically, not simple believe. In 1974, after a series of articles in Peru about possible extraterrestrial signals, my mother, my sister, and I attempted a telepathic contact through meditation. To our surprise, we received a message from a being named Oral, who said he came from Ganymede, one of Jupiter's moons. We asked for proof, and February 7, 1974, at 9 p.m. in the desert south of Lima, Peru, spacecraft appeared exactly as predicted. Months later, we saw the crew disembark. Humanoid being who communicated with us mentally. 1974, a news article appeared in the most serious and conservative newspaper in Lima, El Comercio. It stated that space was not the silent vacuum scientists had imagined. It was full of sounds and signals, and these sounds could be messages sent from advanced civilizations on other planets, trying to communicate with others across the universe. It mentioned that Project OMA, the earlier version of what is now the SETI project, dedicated to capturing and decoding signals. So my father organized a conference at the headquarters of the Peruvian Air Force as a commentary on this news. The speaker was Dr. Victor Ñanes Aguirre, a physician at the police hospital in Lima, a member of the Theosophical Society, and a high-ranking Mason. The subject of his lecture was the possibility that extraterrestrial might be reaching Earth, no only physically with their spacecraft, but also mentally, telepathically, astrally, or even through dreams. I was deeply impressed by that conference because I had attended it with my father. On the way home, I told my mother and sister what the talk was about. And since I had already been practicing Hatha Yoga for a year, breathing techniques, relaxation, concentration, meditation, I thought we could use those methods to try for an experience of contact ourselves. So, on the night of January 22nd, 1974, together with my mother and sister, we tried to channel an extraterrestrial message. To our surprise, we received one. A being named Oral, who claimed to come from Ganymede, one of Jupiter's moons, said he wanted to communicate with us. At first, I didn't take it seriously, I thought it was imagination. But the next day we repeated the experiment, and we asked for proof. The messages said that if we went to the desert south of Elm, February 7th, 1974, at 9 p.m., we would see the craft appear. That would confirm the contact was real, so we went a day before the appointment to make sure we wouldn't confuse it with any aircraft or other phenomenon. And, indeed, on the exact daytime, something happened that none of us could have imagined. Behind the hills, the night suddenly lit up as if were daytime. We saw a light rising over the mountains, and it positioned itself at low altitude right above us. It projected a brilliant like midday sunlight. We felt panic, fear, tremendous awe. And all of us, not just me, all of us perceived mentally that they were telling us, "We are not coming yet, because you are not prepared. There will be a time, a place, and a preparation." Months later, in the same desert location, the craft landed, and we saw the crew disembark physically. They were humanoid, anthropomorphic veins, with head, torso, and limbs. Oxal was about 5 feet 10 inches tall, with facial features similar to a Korean or Mongolian, not exactly Oriental, but with slanted eyes and high cheekbones. He made gestures with his hands, but the communication was telepathic, and we understood that it was they who close to communicate with us, not us with them, and that they were doing the same with many groups of people all over the world. They advised us to leave the desert and go to the mountains. And there, in the mountains, we saw them again. They told us they would open up the media, so that the message and the experience of contact would reach people who had been prepared beforehand. At the time, we didn't understand what they meant, but when we returned the mountains, we found that a Spanish journalist, Juan José Benítez, now well known for his many books, had been sent to Peru by his newspaper. He came to investigate this strange story of young people claiming to have extraterrestrial contact. When we told him about our experiences, he said, "If beings really want to prove contact, why don't you ask of the only kind of evidence no one has ever shown? Photographs can be faked. Testimonies can be subjective, even many witnesses. But if journalists themselves are present at the programmed encounter, announced in advance, that would be undeniable." And it wasn't me, but my brother Charlie, who received the psychographic communication inviting Benitez to the next programmed encounter. So Benitez came with us to the desert. He was the UFOs appear. Benitez testified on Spanish television and published his first book, UFOs, SOS to Humanity. The following year, he came back again, this time with another journalist from the Spanish news agency EFE, Fernando Mujica. They accompanied us to another programmed encounter, this time on the beach notor of Lima. Again, the craft appeared. From the came another of Benitez's books, 100,000 kilometers in pursuit of UFOs. And so, through these 52 years of contact, which will be completed of January 22nd, we have officially invited the press to 11 programmed encounters, where journalists were direct, impartial witnesses that the contact is real. Why 11 times? Because we ourselves also need confirmation. We need to be sure this is not just a delusion, schizophrenia, or paranoia, that there truly is someone on the other end of the line. And beyond that, of course, this is not just about seeing their occupants.
Sixto, when you say that you entered to those ships and saw those beings, it sounds incredible. Things that once seemed like science fiction, today are becoming real. Artificial intelligence is nothing compared to this reality, and all these things are coming to light. Tell us, how did those ships look? What did those beings look like?
Well, the case of Oral, the first being contacted us. He was about 5 feet and 10 inches tall, with a face slightly than ours, very pronounced cheekbones, and markedly slanted eyes. He looked a bit like a Korean or Mongolian, not quite Oriental, but similar. Now, they made it clear to us that there are around 60 different races coming to Earth with very different intentions. Not all of them come with good intentions. Just as on Earth, in the universe there is everything, light and darkness. And not all of them look humanoid. Some look like birds, avian beings. Others like felines. Others like aquatic creatures, almost like fish. Those who seek the most direct contact tend to be the ones that look more like us, or who can assume a human-like appearance. But many times, they don't really loo the way we see them, because they know we humans judges everything by appearances.
What do you think has changed in these 50 years of contacts? Do you believe the moment will come when humanity, face to face, will finally be shown the truth that you have already lived?
Many people have already had contact experiences, even if they don't consciously remember them. And this whole revolution of information we are living now is because, in 2019, someone leaked documents from the Pentagon. Those documents reached National Geographic magazine, an outlet that never touches the UFO subject. But in March 2019, they published an article titled, "We Are Not Alone." In it appeared leaked Pentagon files and photos, showing how the U.S. Armed Forces were continuously detecting spherical, triangular, and rectangular objects, many of them anti-aerodynamic. The reports said that even when the military tried to attack these craft, the UFO never retaliated, never caused harm. So, thanks to the leak, plus what happened in Mexico 2004, plus the WikiLeaks UFO documents released since 2010, plus the Voronezh UFO case in 1989 in Russia, where hundreds of children and their families witnessed landing, all this has contributed to making it impossible now to silence the truth. So, today, disclosure is moving forward. It cannot be stopped so easily.
And finally, Sixto Paz. Before we close, many people today fear that artificial intelligence will replace humans. Do you think AI comes to destroy us or to help us?
What can I say? Every time something new is invented, people fear it will take away jobs. But immediately, new professions arise, new opportunities that didn't exist before. So yes, artificial intelligence will take over some tasks, but will never do everything that humans must or should do for themselves. It will simply make sure some things easier. Things are never good or bad. What matters is how we use them.
Sixto Paz Wells, thank you. You've reminded us that many of us come from out there, that Earth is just a temporary stop, and that we are only passing through. To our American community, who will also watch this in English today, Sixto Paz Wells and Niky Monik.
Thank you very much, Niky, and thank you to everyone. Always remember, these topics are not matter of beliefs. Faith belongs is the certainty of what cannot be seen. But this is a concrete, tangible, material fact. And very soon, everyone will have the chance to verify it for themselves. Very soon. Thank you, Niky. Thank you.
Thank you, the greatest extraterrestre, Sixto Paz.